lot of people are making this accusation against Trump recently. I've noticed that leftists are repeating the mantra, Trump is a rapist, Trump is a pedophile. It is serious that they would make such a false charge. I'm going to show why it's false in a minute. The shooter that just tried to assassinate Trump wrote that in his manifesto. He says Trump is the R word. That was like one of his main things. And I've seen that repeated so much, and this is why propaganda is so damaging. And it's not true. It's just not true, and they have no rationale for it. So anytime I see somebody say, I know they have no rationale for it, or their rationale is very weak. So anytime I see somebody online, I challenge them immediately, because the cognitive dissonance is so sweet when you get somebody in that situation, because I know they have nothing. And I love to see them scramble, and I love seeing them try to reach in their bag of evidence and find nothing. It's just dust in that bag. This is a meme I made at the time, like 4 or 5 years ago I made this. And it's just outlining the ridiculousness of this. In 2019, E Jean Carroll accused Trump of sexually assaulting her 20 years ago, but why didn't she mention the alleged sexual assault from 2016 to 2018 when she was criticizing Trump on social media? She was just a deranged, like a lot of leftists, just saying all kinds of crazy stuff, false accusations. Why didn't she say at the time, you know what? Trump sexually assaulted me. Why didn't she say that? Isn't that strange if she wouldn't say that? She just forgot about it. And then suddenly, 11 days before her book came out, she's like, oh, you know what? You know what, guys? He actually sexually assaulted me 20 years ago. How about that? I don't think so, ma'am. If you were sexually assaulted, you would have said something about this 2016, 2018, where you were a rabid anti-Trump Democrat. You would have said it. You didn't say it. So don't come to me now when you want to make some money and you have a book to sell. Don't come to me now. No, I'm sorry. I'm calling balderdash on that. And further, when Trump had his show, The Apprentice, he says on Facebook, too many good TV shows on Sunday night. What do you watch? I'm a massive Apprentice fan. This was 2012, by the way. What, like 10 years after the alleged sexual assault? So I don't know many people who would be a massive, quote unquote, massive fan of the show of the person who sexually assaulted them. She can watch that and be like, oh, this is a great show. I love it. Where Trump is on the screen half the show. And you're not like triggered or like, I can't stand the sight of the man. So this is quite ridiculous on the face that she actually had something happen in Bergdorf Goodman. There's literally no evidence that she was there, or he was there, or they were there at the same time. And there is questions about the dress she claims she had on at the time. Some people say, well, the time you said you had it, the dress hadn't even been made yet. It hadn't come out. The dress came out like a year or so after. And then she says, well, I'm not sure about the year. So she doesn't even know what year this supposedly happened. She probably was just covering her butt because she got caught. But, and then some people say, well, that maker made similar black dresses, and the company hasn't clarified whether they made that specific black dress at the time that E Jean Carroll originally says that all this stuff happened. But she doesn't have a date. She doesn't have a year. She doesn't have a week. She doesn't have a month. She has absolutely no proof at all. And this bizarre behavior that you wouldn't expect from somebody who was actually sexually assaulted. And now in the wake of this shooting, where the shooter says, I'm not going to stand by while this R word does all this stuff, people are saying, hey, leftists, knock it off with this stuff. This isn't even true. And Bill Mitchell says, it's not true. He hasn't even been convicted of it. And this is the response from some of these leftists. The judge says that he did, and he was found guilty in the case. And I've just been pointing out to leftists what this actually means. What does it mean that he was quote unquote found guilty? Well, first of all, they didn't even find him guilty of the R word, but we'll just say that he used his fingers. So that's what they said that they believe that he did. By the way, for a civil trial, all they have to believe is a 51% likelihood. This isn't like you need, beyond a shadow of a doubt, proof in like a criminal case. You just need in a civil trial a 51% likelihood. They can just believe. They just believe E Jean Carroll. Like, oh, we just believe her. And okay, now he's guilty, according to the civil trial rules, right? So that's a much different standard of truth. So this is the reasoning of the leftists. You say, well, he didn't do anything. He didn't sexually assault. He did nothing. And they say, well, he was found guilty in a court. So that's proof. Okay, first of all, that's appeal to authority fallacy. Just because a court decides something, that doesn't make it true. A court can be wrong. But let's understand a little further what this actually means. This means that 9 leftists decided he's guilty. So that means he's guilty. That's what this really means. And the reason I know this is 9 leftists, well, at least majority, the group was a leftist group that decided this. 48 potential jurors were selected, and nobody even knows their name, their face, or much about them. They were all anonymous. So even now, you don't know who it was. That's how tight this case was. No, there's been no leaks. So nobody even knows. But we do know they were Manhattan area citizens. And we know that Manhattan is heavily Democrat. It's a deep blue area. 12% of people in this area voted for Trump in 2020. So 12% of 48 is about 6 people potentially that voted for Trump out of this 48. So that's very heavily skewed against him, right? And then, and this is what people say too sometimes, they'll say something like this guy, are you claiming Trump's lawyers weren't involved in the jury selection? They'll say something to this effect like, well, Trump's lawyers agreed to it, so it must have been fair. Well, not really, because there was only so much they could do. They had 3 strikes they could make for out of the 48. They could say, we don't want these 3. We don't like them for any reason. You don't even have to give a reason. And so they used all 3 of their strikes against 3 of the people. But the defense, the prosecution also has 3 strikes, and they use their 3 strikes against 3 people. So it kind of evens out. So that's not really an advantage for Trump. It's actually a disadvantage for Trump. Because if you have 48 people, 6 of them voted for you, and now the prosecution can take 3 of those people away. They've taken away half of your supporters. And if the Trump lawyers can use their strikes and they take away 3 people that voted against Trump, that's only 3 out of 45. That's not even 10%. That's like 6% of the Biden supporters that you've taken away. So saying they have strikes, each side has strikes, that's really a disadvantage for Trump. It's making his percentage almost twice as bad. Now he had 6 voters, and the prosecution took away 3 of those voters. So now he has only potentially 3. I'm just saying this is likelihood of how it happened, because the prosecution is going to take away the 3 people they think are most likely to support Trump. That's what they're going to do. And the judge took away 10 or so people because they asked the jury, do you think you can be impartial? And 10 people said, no, I don't think I can be impartial. So those 10 were taken away. there was a leak or something that, or one juror that said he watched Tim Pool 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months, and the prosecution said, no, we don't want that person on. And the Trump lawyers argued for it, and the judge did allow that one person. I don't know the other 8 people, but I'm just saying the odds are this group of 9 people were heavily Democrat, not just like Democrat leaning, center left. No, odds are this group was heavily Democratic. And I was pointing this out to people that were saying, well, the jury decided this. And I'm like, that's what this means is 9 people, a group of 9 people that is heavily Democrat, decided to believe a false allegation against Trump. And you think that's proof that he did something? That's not proof he did something. This is what I was saying to a few people. I was like, you have an opinion of an anti-Trump jury deciding something about Trump. They probably believed most of this and probably still do. This list of all these fake accusations against Trump or Trump supporters. And they probably believed all or almost all of this stuff, like Trump said to drink bleach and other media creations. This is who you're relying on. This is your proof. This is your argument that Trump did it, because these 9 people that have already shown a track record. I mean, just play the odds. If they're heavily Democrat, like far leftists, they've already shown a track record of believing false and dumb things against President Trump. This is the group you're relying on. This is the track record you're relying on. No, I'm sorry. That's not proof. By the way, that's not proof. That's not reliable, and that's not proof. And that's what he's using. Well, these 9 extreme leftist group said Trump did it. Like, okay, that doesn't prove anything. That doesn't prove anything, sir. And I'm always bringing it back to, hey, where's your proof? Where's your proof? There's no proof. And this is what they'll say in response. They'll say something like, well, the 2 women, her accomplices, said that she told them at the time. Okay, well, they could be lying too, sir. You don't think that she's lying? Why couldn't they be lying? Yes. And these 2 other women claim Trump came on to them. Well, they could be lying too, or he could have came on to them. That doesn't mean he sexually assaulted E Jean Carroll. That's none of this is proof. So the idea that you would call somebody the R word on nothing, literally no proof, just somebody's word, is false. He didn't sexually assault anybody. She's lying. She made it up because she's rabid anti-Trump and maybe because she wants to make money or get attention. That's what happened. Sorry. And this is what I recommend to do too, because this person says, you support a R word. That's what he says. And I just bring it back to him. I'm like, no, I don't support an R word. You actually do in Bill Clinton, in Juanita Broderick. If you don't know the details of that case, she was a supporter of Clinton, a volunteer for Clinton, and she alleges that he sexually assaulted her. It's very convincing if you watch the 60 Minutes interview. She has nothing to gain from it, unlike E Jean Carroll, who has money to gain, who is a rabid anti-Trump person. So she has a political motive and possibly a monetary motive. Juanita Broderick had no political motive. She was a supporter of Clinton. And she couldn't sue him when she came out about the story. She couldn't sue him. The statute of limitations had run out. So she has nothing to gain from it. And you support him, sir. Not only that, but Tara Reade alleges the exact same thing the jury said that Trump did. And she actually has evidence. She told her mother at the time. Her mother called in Larry King's talk show at the time, like 6 months after allegedly Biden did this to Tara Reade, and says, my daughter, she had a situation, and she just explains, she doesn't go into great detail, but she explains, like, this guy acted inappropriately towards her. And that's on tape. You can find that on YouTube. You never cared about that, sir. So this is a very strong one. When you can't force people to say, yeah, it's silly. It's silly to think that she would act this way, and say The Apprentice was her favorite show. That's silly. And then she's claiming, no, that doesn't make any sense. You can't force people to admit that, but you can show you are a big hypocrite. You don't care about Bill Clinton. You don't care about Tara Reid. You never cared. This is all because you don't like Trump, and you're going to believe any negative thing against him because you don't like him for other reasons. This is all fake reasons, things you don't care about, and you don't even believe because you didn't believe Tara Reid with stronger evidence. And even if you did believe her, you don't care. Now you're pretending to care about Trump. No, you don't like Trump for other reasons. Why don't you like Trump? Trump says true things that goes against their worldview. That's why they don't like him. It's an anti-truth thing, and they can't say that. They can't say, well, I don't like him because he says that illegal immigration is bad. I don't like him because he says this thing over here is bad and this thing over here is bad. They don't want to live in a world of morality because morality triggers their conscience and it makes them feel guilty and shame. And that's what they're trying to avoid. And the way the Democratic establishment and the school system and Hollywood and media have told them to avoid it is, we just can't say anything against abortion, LGBT, illegal immigration, all these immoral and bad, destructive things. You just can't say anything about it. And that's how we're going to deal with this shame. When Adam and Eve sinned, what did they do after they sinned? They put on fig leaves on their body, right? They covered up. They're covering up their shame. And what do liberals do with all this coping mechanism? They're covering up their shame. You can cover up. That doesn't fix the issue. You need real reconciliation with God for that. You need to ask Jesus to be your Savior. You need to say, I've sinned. I have this shame. Please forgive me of this. Please take this, Jesus. I need redemption for this. This is the actual solution. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.